All right. So now let's talk about solving quadratic equations. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the zero product property and how we use the zero product property in solving quadratic equations. This isn't the only way of doing it. We'll talk about other methods, like, for example, using this property of square roots. But today we'll talk about, or right now we'll talk about the zero product principle or property. So first, what is a quadratic equation? Well, we have a quadratic polynomial, trinomial here. So we've seen these before, and we set that equal to 0. So a, b, and c are real numbers, so all the coefficients are real numbers, and a can't be equal to 0. If that's the case, then this is what we call a quadratic equation. That's the definition. Okay? Now, the zero product principle says this. If we have a product of two numbers, and we know that that product is equal to 0, then there are only two options. Either m is equal to 0, or n is equal to 0 in this case. Okay? Or both, right? But that's the zero product principle. At least one of these has to be equal to 0 if the product is equal to 0. Okay? And that's just using what we know about, multiplication of numbers, right? Any number multiplied by 0 is 0. Right? So if we know the product of this is 0, then we know that at least one of them has to be 0, right? So that's what we're going to use to start solving these. So what we're going to do is we're going to factor this so that we have a product, right? So obviously we're going to try to use all the techniques that we've learned to factor this polynomial into two or more factors that we can then apply the zero product principle, since we're going to make sure that the equation is equal to 0. And then by doing that, we can solve for the solution set for the equation. All right, we'll do a couple of examples.